Karis the addict. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for asking me to come to do the share. I have to say I'm very nervous to sit here. I've been to this meeting twice in my life, and the first time I came here, I sat over there, and I was still in relapsing, couldn't stop using, and I had my hand up for ages, and I never got picked. And what happens, I walked out here with a resentment, slammed the door, and I said I'd never come back to NA. And this particular meeting if I had to. You know, and I just have to be very honest about what my disease tells me and where my disease manifests, you know. But I just have to get that out there, you know. Today I don't feel that way, thank God, because I'm working a programme and I'm trying to live the programme. Welcome any newcomers, anyone who's back from a relapse, any old-timers. Just want to say this programme works. It really works. I'm going to try and explain to you how and why it works for me. And I hope I don't offend anyone. If I do, I'm sorry. It's my journey. I'm going to explain. Also like to say happy birthday to UKNA, because I'm aware it's 35 years, sometime a few days ago. And I'd like to thank our predecessors that have actually paved the way for where I've gotten to today. You know, so those who kept on coming back relentlessly, I just want to say a big thank you to you as well. Yeah, so I'll start. You know, I first came to NA in 2012, and it was after 18 months of using crack cocaine, and it brought me to my knees, just bang to my knees, you know. And I wanted a very quick relief from how I was feeling, very desperate, and I was already a prostitute at that time. And I remember I went to Brixton meeting, and it's an ex-boyfriend who had 12-step, and he said, Karis, going to pick up the white key ring. And I did, and I thought, fantastic, I've done it. I haven't got to do it again. All my dreams are answered. And but what it is, you know, all my life, I've always felt different. And I thought first it's because I was the only black girl that went to my school. Then even when I was with my own family who were all black, I still felt different, you know. I'd go to crack dens, I still felt different, and didn't know what it was that I suffered with, you know. And what happens, very quickly, I was coming to meetings, but I only just did one meeting a week for I supposed to do 1990. I thought, I don't need that. So I know now that my disease looks for the similarities and never the differences. So I listened and I looked and I judged other people. And meanwhile, what was happening is that I gave my disease time to grow. And I wouldn't do service, so I was still working at a brothel. The only service I would do was punters. And I wouldn't get a sponsor. And what happened in the end, I got sponsored by the disease of addiction, you know, and it told me, Karis, you know, you don't really need to do this. And I grew restless, irritable, very discontent very quickly. And on my 25th birthday, after getting 90 days, I thought I'd just have one drink. And that one drink took me on an 11-year journey, and I came back when I was 36 years of age, you know. And in that time, there were services I said I'd never do, and I exceeded those services, you know. People I said I'd never invite to my home, and I did. But I felt that there was always something working for me in my life for all of this, you know. The borough in which I live, and I understand different boroughs have different kind of rules, if you like it. And what happens, I subletted my flat, my council flat. And the council found out, and people who I gave it to, who I allowed to sublet from me, told the council, and they got it put in their name. Now, at the time, I was just blaming because I was trying to run away from people in my area, you know, and I thought it was just my area that was wrong with me. And what happened is that I got my flat back, and I didn't even pray for that to happen. I still live in the same flat I used in today, after 20 years, you know. And apparently I was the only person in the borough which I live who's ever won the rights back for their flat. And if that's not something that's moving for me, I like to call it God, you know. It's very powerful, you know. Anyway, I came back and I was broken this time. My name's Karis, it's spelled C-H-A-R-I-S, which stems from the word charisma, to be charismatic. When I came here, I was broken this time around in 2012. I was on my knees. And the only way out I could think about was suicide. And this same power would not let me go. didn't know what my purpose was in life, didn't know why was I supposed to be here time and time again. So came back to NA, you know, and actually I went for a 12-step treatment and I thought I'll be okay, I'll be fixed, you know. And yeah, and I came out and I relapsed because we did step 1 there, but I believe that instead of, it says, you know, we admit that we're powerless over our addiction, that our lives have become manageable. I believe that I was powerful now because I'm looking well. I'm sounding well. My skin's good. My manageability is good because I'm getting up at the time that they tell me on the timetable. So I'm manageable now. So I went back out and I used. And I couldn't get it. Hence, when I came in here, I'd blame anyone. If I wasn't picked in a meeting, I'd make it everybody else's fault, except mine, as I wasn't used to taking responsibility. Anyway, so what happened is that I went to a meeting in Brixton, and this lady, she stood up, and this time I was ready, and I had like 10 hours or something clean. And I read in the literature, it says, you know, our drug addiction was more than just using drugs. Therefore, recovery has to be more than just simple abstinence. So I had to put certain things in place for me to get it this time, because now I was willing, because I was bloody beaten. And I was beaten to a pulp, and I was scared about this disease, this dis-ease inside of me that was just growing and manifest in every area of my life. So this woman, she stood up, and I thought, okay, I'm ready for it. And she said it was so simple, and I thought, how simple is it? And I sat there, I thought, right, tell me how simple it is. And she said, you know, I just did 5 things. She said, I prayed for the obsession to be lifted, and it was lifted. Then I did 1990. Through doing 1990 meetings, I got service commitments. Through getting service commitments, I then found a sponsor. Through finding a sponsor, I then started working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. Okay, fantastic. If that's all I have to do, I will just do those 5 things. You know, thank God our message comes very simple. It's a very simple message, and it comes in 3 parts. That any addict can stop using, can find a new way to live, and also can use the obsession to use. That's it. 3, that's it. That's how our message is. And so anyway, so what happens, I started working, I found a sponsor, I still have it today, and we started working the steps, you know, and in step 1, you know, it's, I learnt the reasons why, what I was made up of, you know, that I couldn't stop using once I had the first one, and about the unmanageable. There's 2 types of unmanageability, the outward and inward unmanageability. So the inward is the one that I feel when I sit down here and I feel like I'm less than you all, and the unmanaged outward unmanageability is the stuff that you all see, that maybe I lose my home. It could be as simple as that. And there's other things as well, you know. So I learned about the spiritual principle of honesty. In step 2, you know, I guess in step 1, you know, I also learned that I was hopeless. My using was hopeless. I wrote it. No one else wrote it for me. And that I had a hopeless condition. So in step 2, I came in, I found this hope. So I am powerless, but I can be empowered by you all and this NA program who've introduced me to this loving God. Because the God I had in my life before was this punishing God. And it was given to me, in fact, it was passed down to me from generations, from my grandmother to my mum. Step 3, you know, the step of faith. Instead of trying to manage everything myself, which I've always done, it gets very painful when I keep doing this, I need to just give it to this loving God. Step 4, you know, I made a more inventory of myself. And the things I want to keep, the things that serve me well and the things that do not serve me well in any shape or form. The things that split me up from you, from God and myself, and getting to know me, you know. So I've uncovered these defects because that's what I'm really looking at. I've looked at the assets as well. I'm loving, I'm kind, I'm passionate. I can be tolerant, I can be patient. I'm still working on those things. But I looked at the things that are damaging to me and damaging to others. It's damaged my mum throughout my using. That's why we have Families Anonymous, thank God, because whatever it is, I know when I've used, I've dragged my family into this. I've taken a lot of people hostage. Step 5, I shared and I've admitted it with somebody else. And then step 6, you know, it's like I was catapulted back into living in the disease of addiction without having anything to gain relief from. So I'm feeling all of these defects. I'm seeing them. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to control them myself. Now, when I came in here, I asked God, please, can you remove the obsession to use? because I couldn't do it. I tried for many, many years and I couldn't do it. So I had to pray. So the same way, I had to try because this was getting too painful for me now. So what would happen? So I'm walking down Oxford Street, place I really, really, really detest, because I'm walking down, there's a crowd of people, I'm saying, excuse me, and no one, and people are walking really slow and they're taking pictures and they're, look, ah. And I can see, and what's happening is I'm saying, excuse me, and no one's listening to me. So then I start getting, after being impatient, I start getting intolerant. Would you please move? And I may nudge someone out of the way, but then what was happening, I could feel the impatience and the intolerance. I'm trying to push down the impatience, and the intolerance will come up, and I see the intolerance, I try to push that down. Next thing I know, and I think, but Karis, you're supposed to be working a programme with NA. So you need to, so then the perfection comes in, bang, trying to push that down. Next thing I know, I forget what I'm trying to push down, what's coming up, and it's such a painful place to be in, for me. Came to step 7, that's a step of willingness. I needed to get to a place of willingness so I could ask God to please remove this from me, because I couldn't do it myself. I tried again, you know. And I started to think, but how? How is this going to work? Is God really going to do it? But I forget very quickly how God has removed the obsession for me to use. He removed those tenants out of my flat so that I got back in my flat, and that's when I was using. So he's always been there. And then yeah, he's always been there for me, you know. So what's happened is I'm thinking, okay, so I come to step 7 now, step of humility. And I'm ready now because it's so painful, I'm ready. And what happened is that, you know, they say if we don't find humility, we get humiliated. It says it in our literature. And what happened is that my sponsor was supposed to go through my step 7 with me, but she forgot. But what's happened is my perfectionism, which is a great defect, because our character, we have, you know, the 12 steps, we have spiritual principles, and the opposite of the spiritual principles are the character defects. So my disease is already looking for me not to get the freedom in step 7. So what's happened is that she's a human being, she's an addict just like me, and I can very well forget that and put her on the highest pedestal. And what's happened is she said, Karis, oh, I'm at a funeral of a family member. Who asked her to say that? I have just ripped into her. I've started effing and blinding. I don't even need you anyway. I don't even know why I have you as my sponsor. Ba-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. I'm screaming and crying in the middle of Fulham Broadway. And I could hear her breathing like... And she said, OK, that's where you first said, you know what, furthermore, I don't even need you. Bang, and the phone goes down. So my disease doesn't even want me to... It wants to get me between me and my sponsor. For me, she's the greatest person who speaks to God. For me, and I want to get her out the way. Thank you, Archie. I want to get rid of her and get her out the way. So that then I can go back to step 1 and resent NA a little bit more. So what happened? I got humiliated, you know. And I remember I went to Barbados at that time to go and see my grandmother, who was very, very ill. She was dying. And I got to see why I needed to be humble. I started to really, really pray, please remove these shortcomings where I come up short. Please remove them, you know. I was also studying at college, and Archie was asking me earlier, he said, you know, oh, your watch is 10 minutes fast. I said, yeah, because I get to places late, so I need to set it 10 minutes fast. Haven't quite got the unmanageability yet, the manageability. And what happened this day, you know, I was on my bike and I was pedalling really fast because I was late for college. And there's people, you know, there's different cars, and I guess, you know, they were stopping, they were getting in my way. I like to say they were cutting me up, but they were just getting in my way. And what's happened this moment now, I can feel that I'm riddled with these defects and I cannot get rid of them. I feel spiritually dirty. And what I normally go to do, you know, I'm riding my bike and I've gone to say, you female genital to someone, and to also stick up my middle finger. And what's happened is that something has just it's just silenced me. And my hands have stayed locked on the bike. And I was pedalling and pedalling. I couldn't work out why. What has just happened? My shortcomings had been removed. I had everything I searched for in men, in food, in shopping, in other people, in acceptance, in drugs. That the disease of addiction promised me that if I do this thing, it will fill my spiritual void. Got filled then, and it wasn't me that did it, because my intention was different. And for a whole week, I had this sense of peace and serenity. Of course, God will, it will come back because I need to work on myself, But I remembered just that freedom, absolute freedom, and just believing in stuff 100%. They call it part of this forgotten step, 6 and 7. In our literature, it says, when we arrived, we couldn't laugh, we couldn't live. We just couldn't, I wouldn't even brush my teeth in the mirror because I couldn't bear to look at myself. I'm really good at applying makeup without a mirror because I never wanted to look at myself. I was so disgusted with myself, so disgusted. My name is Karis, and now I have a bit of charisma within me. It says that the light was gone within us, but then people started to notice it long before we did. And there's people saying, oh my God, you look so different. You look so different. But then it says also in our literature at step 7, it's so evident that we can now see it ourselves. We can feel it. I could feel it. I could feel how different I was, What I want to end on is kind of this, where it manifests, for me today, They talk about selective thinking as well in our literature. So the other day I thought, let me go back to playing volleyball. But before I do so, let me go and get the kit. So, so I thought, yeah, right, I'll go and play it. The team's ready, they're waiting, right. So I'll go and get some shoes, some trainers, some bling-bling trainers to help with my pride when I get on the court. And I thought, well, I'm going to smash it when I get on there, because I played for a really good team when I was at school. So I'm standing there and I'm on the volleyball court and I'm ready just to, and I'm thinking, right, and she goes, service. I'm standing there and I can see this ball coming over the net. And I'm thinking, right, I'm going to get it. Arrogance is telling me, Karis, you can do this and you're going to smash it back over. And I saw this ball coming, and I swear to God, it turned into like a ball of flames. I just ran. In the shoes, thinking that told me it's going to be all right. And what I have to... And then what happened is that I quickly came to this place of feeling humiliated. So, oh, Karis, you see what's happened again. I forgot that I played volleyball 29 years ago when I was 11.
11.
Yeah, when I was 11. So how can I expect I'm going to play it like a Trojan today? And then I had to ask God, could you please remove these shortcomings? And once I said it enough times, I was able to play a little bit better, But like this, it's, it takes practice. I don't work a perfect program. I try this stuff, I sponsor now. I'm still sponsored. I'm doing the traditions. I have commitments in UK H&I prison sponsorship, where we carry the message to those who are in prison. And I also help on the helpline, the NA helpline. My mum is so proud of me. She couldn't even say the words, "Oh my God, drug addict" before. She couldn't say it, and now she tells everyone I'm in recovery. The power of this program is phenomenal, It's phenomenal. And I have to say, please look at the similarities, not the differences, because what's happened is I've fallen out with a few people in the program. And I have to remember that people are just as imperfect as I am, The program is perfect. We are a work in progress. I am a work in progress, and whoever the predecessors that carried this message for us from 35 years ago, thank you very much. And if you're new to this, just please keep coming back. Thank you.